Well, hello there. It's Thursday, which is PitchZone Day. And I'm here, of course, with my co-host, Nathan Gold. Nathan, how are you this morning?
Doing good. If my earpiece would just stay in my ear, I'll be fine. But all good here today in California.
Earpiece. Wait a second. You're wearing an earpiece?
I am here wearing an earpiece. You want to start with that?
Well, today we are going to do a behind the scenes at PitchZone. And yeah, we can start with the earpiece because, quite frankly, I love to just jump into these kind of sessions here, right?
Sure.
And I'm wearing the same one as you do, and it's pretty invisible. I always feel like Jack Bauer from the series 24. How about you, Nathan?
And it goes in our ear, and the wire is ultra thin. I forget how many millimeters it is, and you literally can't even see it if I turn my head like this. Bumblebee Industries, yeah. Now, this is not an inexpensive headset, folks, and not all of you will need one. You can get an inexpensive one for about $50, $60, but frankly, you only need these if you're going to be on live streams or you're going to be on a podcast like we are right now, where audio needs to be very carefully structured so that you don't get yourself heard twice, or it doesn't pick up your microphone and feed it right back into the stream. So these earpieces are extremely helpful for being able to hear the audio of what's going on in the show without having any of those issues. And they also are used for the back camera people and the production people to tell you things while you're on screen. Now, Claudio and I don't have production people behind us. So we're going to show you today how we actually pull these things off without a crew behind us.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. And let's, before we dive in, quickly say hello to our viewers online. Anthony, so great to have you back again. I think that's the third week in a row. Love to have you, Anthony, and I'm looking forward to our session together in just a few weeks. And then we have Rick Pollack. He's been with us for 2 years now, even the precursor of PitchZone. This actually is episode 41. And before we started PitchZone, we had this program called Pitch in the Zone, a Zoom meeting for pitch fanatics, insiders, whatever you want to call us. And we did 80 weeks of that. And Rick's been there almost since the beginning. So Rick, it's always a great pleasure having you online as well. And then, of course, Massimo Peroncelli joining us from Thailand, this time on YouTube again. Massimo, great pleasure having you here. And Kevin Minier joining us from England. Kevin, great to see you. Thanks for making the time. So, Nathan, behind the scenes. Kevin is from Hertfordshire. Hertfordshire? Sure, I don't know. How do you say these things? Shire. So how do you say Worcestershire sauce? Worcester sauce? How do you call that one?
I just said, give me the bottle that has the W on it.
Avoiding the shore problem.
I think it's Worcestershire.
Worcestershire,
I think.
Right? Yes. I think so as well. So, Nathan, we have a whole lot of things to show our audience here today.
Sure.
We've been putting PitchZone together as a one-man, two-man show, if you want so. The planning, the producing, the directing, the hosting, and so on, it happens all right from here. And I actually moved last weekend. I moved to a house. Finally, I don't have my studio in my living room anymore. I'm totally tickled. And this is the cool thing about the technology that we are using. You break it down in one spot, move over to the other spot, set it up. And I think the most time that I spent was hiding all the cables, because there's so many cables involved. It's amazing. Spaghetti salad, something like that over here. So, Nathan, where should we start?
Well, before we dive into your studio and maybe even my studios, I just want to let the audience know that what we're about to show you is beyond what most people need. Okay. So we don't want you to walk away from this episode thinking you have to invest all this time and money into two screens and dongles and this and that and this and that. This is more productions. Claudio and I are producing shows. He does it every week for this that you're watching right now. He does it for his clients. He does it for his workshops, his seminars, his webinars. I do the very same thing. We're using this technology to be different, but not gimmicky with our audiences, like you see online so much blah, 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 and stuff moving and all of that. But we use our technology to earn a living. So when you look at our studios, please don't think you need a full room in one of your homes to set up your studio like both of us have. And speaking of homes, Claudio, wait a minute. You look exactly the way you've looked for the last 3 years, but yet you've completely moved from one location to another. And I've been tracking your progress, and you've had a few hiccups and frustrations. And
Yes.
let's first start with just tell the audience basically what you have in your studio right now to accomplish your ability to present on the screen like you do, have your sound quality as it is, your camera's outstanding. I mean, this is 1080p you're throwing out to the world there, and your lighting and your background. So take us on a little tour, and then we'll start breaking it down.
It's actually simpler than many people assume it is, right? Because I'm somewhat a little bit of a minimalist. So I don't have two monitors. You know, I really go by with the basics. Originally, I set out, 3 years ago, I set out to create high quality video productions with a minimal budget. I then quickly learned that that may not be the right way to go, so I did invest some money in a quality camera and a quality sound solution, microphone, and I'm using a Rodecaster Pro 2. So let me give you a glimpse and tell you also why I moved. Again, I did this before from my living room, and I moved to this location here right now. So what you're seeing in front of me is my computer, my monitor, my camera on this side here, two lights that are giving me a little bit brightness in my face. Down here I have and I can even show this to you a little bit closer. Down here I have my Stream Deck, over here iPad, and this is basically the entire setup that I'm using. This is for my sound and of course the microphone over here. Now, a lot of people think that using a green screen, if you're looking at this scene here again, you see the green screen behind me, right? And this is what allows me to have the same look and feel as I had before, because with the green screen technology, I can use any background that I want. Now, here is the thing with green screens. A lot of people think you need to put in a lot of effort into the lighting to make sure that this thing is evenly lit, to make it wrinkly-free and whatever you have. But if you look again closely at my setup right now, because this is still temporary, you see my green screen even moving slightly because of the wind from the air condition. It's not as bad, but you can see it moving slightly. It's just hanging there. If I turn the green screen off, you will see it's not evenly lit whatsoever, right? You see a shadow behind me. On one side, it's much darker than on the other side, yet it still works. And I get a lot of compliments from people I'm meeting with. They go like, wow, your background is so cool. And then I tell them that it's a green screen, and they go like, oh, I wish I could do this, but oh, I saw videos on YouTube and I read this article about how difficult it is. It really isn't. It really, really isn't. Especially with today's technology, it's getting better and better and better. This is also a result of the advancements of AI, that the chroma key software behind it has a much better way to detect what's you and what's in the background. But here are two secrets I want to share with you how to make your green screen work. Number one, don't put it too close behind you. Make sure you have about, in my case here, it's about a meter 50 behind me, right? So don't put it too close behind you. And then also be very careful in what kind of background that you're choosing. If I would use a light background, something white or any really light color, I wouldn't look as good. There would be a slight little green outline around me. But if you're choosing a green or blue or any really dark background, all of a sudden you're starting to pop out. So yeah, that's my setup here. And again, just 1 second more. If you're looking at this room, this is actually why I chose the room, because of these lights back here. I thought, wow, this is going to make a super background, a real background this time instead of a virtual background. And then I started to set this thing up on Monday, Tuesday. And I spent truly 2 days trying to make it work. The camera angle, it's millimeter by millimeter adjustments. Then I didn't really like the color once I was sitting in front of it. And on Tuesday, we were meeting, Nathan, and 1 hour before our meeting, I said, you know what? Forget about it. I'm going to go back to my green screen. I know it, and it allows me to do some things that I cannot do with a natural background.
I just want everybody to know, though, Claudio, that the green screen is not for everyone, and they might not have the space to put it up and leave it up like we do in this entire bedroom and rooms that we're using. So I can tell you without question that people who have natural backgrounds, such as a bookcase or pictures behind you, they can actually be as engaging, if not more engaging with your audience than perhaps a virtual background like we're using. So don't stress about this whole green screen thing, because my wife actually has a huge bookcases all along the wall behind her in her office downstairs. And being a little bit, well, I won't say it out loud, she likes to organize the books by color. And it looks almost like a piece of artwork down there. And when people first meet her online, they very often say, wait a minute, hang on a second. I got to check out your bookcase back there. I mean, she told me last night that people actually said, wait a minute, wait, I'm not listening to what you're saying. I just want to see what your background is like. And all it is a natural background, but at least it looks interesting. So if you can make it look interesting, work at that at least.
Yes, you're making such a great point, Nathan, because that's actually why I moved, right? I wanted to have a natural background. You may remember our discussion we had where I said, you know what, there's something unconscious that people that see your real environment, as you said, you know, having a glimpse at your books or seeing some holiday memorabilia or something that, you know, so I haven't written the last chapter on my studio setup yet. I will give this probably another try with the different backgrounds that I have. I might need to change the color of the wall because I really don't care for this one. It's a skin tone issue, right? There isn't enough contrast there. So, yeah, but you're making a very good point about the authentic background helping you to be more authentic.
Audience, what you're doing in your studio. How about I show them a little bit about what I'm doing here? Because we're kind of on two different ends of the spectrum here. Claudio is a minimalist. I'm a neat freak, but I'm not a minimalist. So I'll put on whatever I need to expand and amplify my studio until there's no more room left in the house here. But being that we are each one-man bands here, it's important to be able to keep things under control. I mean, if you have 1,000 people online for a workshop and you're controlling your camera and your sound and your lighting and your slides and music and everything else that's going on, it's really hard to do it on one screen, or me. I started out on one screen 5 years ago doing this sort of stuff, and it was extremely frustrating because I had sound that I had to work on, and I had, let me just change cameras. I had my sound, I had my lights, I had music, I had all this stuff going on, and so
You lost your sound. Yep,
lost my sound. Am I
you
still
got it.
there?
Yep, you got it
Okay.
back.
So let me just first show you the full studio setup. Now let me switch over here. Sorry, I chose the wrong camera. There. So this, nope, wrong one. This one. This is my studio, and I'm working with a sit-standing desk like Claudio is now, so that I can stand instead of sitting throughout these whole workshops. Same sort of setup with 2 lights above me. However, I can't work with one screen. There's just absolutely no way on earth I can work with one.
Oops, your sound.
There, that should
Yep.
work okay now? Yeah. So this is my setup. I've got all of my Zoom stuff on the left. I put all of my slide stuff on the right, and I use my peripheral vision as I'm looking into the camera right between my screen here. So when I'm looking at you, my audience, I can use my peripheral vision for the slides over here, and to be sure I can pick up clues on the left about what you're doing and what you're saying and what you look like.
Hold on a
Above,
second there. Hold on a second, Nathan. You have 2 cameras there?
yeah, I do. I have 2 cameras there. Why? You want to know why?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, when I demonstrate PowerPoint to people and how you can use a, oops, oh, I pressed the wrong button. Absolutely the wrong button. I hope I didn't screw everything up here.
No.
You okay there?
Yep.
Are we still here? Let me make sure I have to
We
get
are
back to where
here.
we are.
I'm here. You're black now. Black screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Let me fix that right now. Okay, we're back.
Okay.
Boy, that was... So the reason I have 2 cameras there is because when I demonstrate PowerPoint to people during the day in my sessions, I can't use my main camera without shutting it all down. And that is a challenge when I want to do things smoothly. So I have my second camera below my first camera, which is not attached to my software that I'm using to produce my shows, so that when I go over to PowerPoint and I want to show people Cameo, it's just using that one camera that's not attached to anything else. Make sense? Okay. I have 2 cameras. And then I have one more little monitor down on my desk, which is where I control all my sound. I used to use what Claudio has on his desk, the Rodecaster Pro 2. And it's much more gear, much more kit than I need for what I do. So I simplified everything. I got rid of the RCP and went straight into just a single microphone output. Everything's much, much simpler on my desk now. However, I lost all of the slider bars, those physical things that you can touch and move, and it was frustrating me like crazy. So I just added the newest Stream Deck to my desk, which I actually had bought a while back and put away because it was like, why do I need this? And the new Stream Deck that has those 4 buttons on it let me control all my sound now. I can switch it down, up and down, without having to find the mouse and go over to the software that's sitting on the screen to control the slider bars. It's beautiful.
Nice, nice, nice. Now there is the minimalist in you, simplify, simplify, simplify.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so these are our 2 setups. The hardware that we are using, all the gear that we are using. What camera do you use, Nathan?
I'm using an extremely old Canon EOS Rebel SL3. I bought it in, I think, 2019, 2018, something like that. It's nothing special by today's standards. It's not a mirrorless camera or anything like that. And it's not 4K because I'll tell you, folks, Zoom, Teams, and all these video products, it's going to be a long time before they let you push 4K out there. But if you're recording your own videos and you want to have 4K, then obviously do what Claudio did. He got a 4K camera. He presents in 1080p when he's online, but when he records his own videos, they're in 4K and they look amazing. So
Indeed.
the only thing you need with a DSLR, and by the way, many of you have these cameras in your house right now that could be used as a webcam. You just need a magic little dongle. Do you have one of those handy? I have it in my drawer. I could show them. Elgato has a dongle that you connect to your DSLR with an HDMI cable that plugs into the USB port on any computer. And then your DSLR becomes a new camera to be used in Teams, Zoom, or any other video software out there. The biggest benefit to the DSLR are the lenses. I mean, I have this lens sitting on my camera that's this long, cost me $600 a long time ago. This telephoto lens and wide angle lens, it does everything. I didn't have to go buy a new one because it was already in the bag, sitting collecting dust. So all I needed was that dongle to turn it into a webcam, and I've never looked back. It never fails me. There's no software involved. That little dongle from Elgato does everything for me. It's a beautiful thing. Literally, your webcam can be replaced with a DSLR, and you can plug literally any HDMI device into your setup, like an iPad for high def, or maybe another TV or another source, HDMI in to your USB. It's a beautiful thing.
Now, one comment I want to make for those that may want to upgrade their cameras to a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. When you go shopping, make sure that the camera has a clean HDMI output. There's a difference. Some cameras don't have a clean HDMI. They do have an HDMI connector, but then when you connect it to your software, you still see all of the control elements. You see your aperture, you see all these kind of things. So make sure it has a clean HDMI port. Rick has a question here. Is your DSLR plugged into a power supply? If not, has the battery died in the middle of the meeting? In my case, and I think in Nathan's case as well, we are using what is called a dummy battery, which fits into the slot of the battery in the camera, and then a cable goes into the power supply. So yes, they are on power all the time. In the very beginning, I did use only the battery because I was waiting for that dummy battery to be shipped to me, and it took about 10 days. And I had two batteries, each of them lasted several hours, and I always replaced them before they actually ran out. So it hasn't happened that in the middle of the meeting I would have lost my camera. How about you, Nathan?
Yeah, same thing. I'm using a dummy battery just like you are. They come specific for the DSLR that you're using. They're very inexpensive. You just shove it in the bottom, plug it in the wall, and it can stay on all day long. I'm using, again, a very old version of a DSLR, so to speak, by today's standards. I turn it on at 6 a.m. and it literally stays on until 6 p.m.
Yeah.
The mirror is literally open for that entire time.
Yeah.
And I've never had any problem with the camera at all. So let's move on to microphones. You want to talk about sound?
Exactly.
Sound quality, because
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sound is so important. Nathan and I, we have a mutual friend, and when we were talking with him one day, in passing, he mentioned a study that they did at the University of Southern California that had a look at how sound quality impacts credibility and believability. And it was amazing. They took the same video, the same presenter. The only thing that they did is they degraded the sound for each of the test groups. And guess what? The more it degraded, the less credibility was given to the speaker. He wasn't as believable. And the presenter was a professor, right? I mean, somebody that just by his credentials usually gets a lot of credibility to his name. But in this case here, the more the sound quality was degraded, the less credibility he got. So if you can improve your sound, if your sound isn't top notch, and again, I've just been in this location here for 2 days, so I'm still soundproofing the room. It's not as good as it can be, as it should be, but of course over time that will improve. But whatever you can do to improve your sound, do it, even if that means investing into a microphone, because I can give you a little taste of how it would sound if I used my built-in microphone. I hope you're ready for it, because this is how it sounds when I use my built-in microphone. And now I probably sound to you, I probably sound like I'm in a cave somewhere. Really, yes, really, really bad, right? So go back to my Shure microphone, the difference is definitely noticeable. So the trick is not necessarily to have an expensive microphone. The trick is to get the microphone as close to your mouth as possible. And in order to do that, you don't even need one of these USB microphones. You know, you see people with these fancy microphones in the screen. You don't necessarily need one of those. For many, many months, almost a year, I was using a lavalier microphone, one of these things that you clip on, and it gets so close to your mouth that it swallows up a lot of that extra sound that you just heard before when I was switching over to my built-in microphone.
I agree. The sound quality is the #1 place to make sure you amplify how you are sounding, whether it's joining a meeting or whether you're recording your own videos or whether you are being recorded. Remember, people are going to be listening to you on these recordings over some number of years, obviously, or months maybe, and the sound quality in that playback is vitally important to people staying engaged, and trustworthiness, credibility, and all the things that Claudio mentioned in that study go up the better your sound quality online and in a video. So make sure if there's one place you're going to spend any money, it's get a better microphone. And the lavalier microphones are inexpensive, relatively inexpensive, can go with you, travel with you, go anywhere, hide it. So that's probably a place to start. If you're going to go high end where you're in the same location all the time, then maybe you can look for a better or a more professional looking kind of a microphone. But as you can see, Claudio and I are not big fans of sticking the microphone in the frame. I actually don't like that in my set because I'm doing things. I want to bring things up on the screen, and I'm not a big fan of having the microphone in my face. Some people like that. So Claudio, let's use the remainder of our time and move away from technology for a moment and talk about how do we do what we do on our screens, because that's ultimately why we have all this technology, is how we can keep our audience engaged as a one-man band or one-person band when all we're doing is showing slides and then maybe doing some other stuff. So let's talk about that, because each of us use different tools.
Definitely, definitely. And, you know, I promised a behind the scenes of PitchZone. So we are just using what I'm seeing here as an example. But before we do that, I want to come to the secret sauce that both Nathan and I are using to make things seem so easy, seamless. And that is a little box that's on our desks called the Stream Deck. The Stream Deck is do you want to show it quickly, Nathan? Because I'm pushing so many buttons already here. So if you will just flip over to you.
Yeah.
Maybe
sure.
Camera.
Let me switch it. Go ahead and keep talking.
So we'll see the actual device that we are using, the Stream Deck, and it comes in different flavors. Here we go. It comes in different flavors. This one is the 32 button version.
Yeah,
It comes with a
that's the
16
XL.
button, right? So there's one with the that has 16 buttons, I believe, and then there are even smaller ones. You just mentioned another one, the newest one.
This is the
There we
newest
go.
one here.
Yep. And this has
And it's
8
got these
buttons.
nice 8 buttons, and you can have as many behind it. So you can have subfolders and subfolders. But the thing I love about this one more than anything are those buttons at the
dials.
bottom. I can control 4, and then I could swipe this thing over. I could swipe this over and have 4 more, and swipe them again and have 4 more and 4 more and 4 more. So it's a really cool way to control. And then over here is that little screen that's controlling all of my audio.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's go back quickly to the Stream Deck in itself. Let me show you how the Stream Deck actually is configured, because it's a marvelous tool. And I think the name Stream Deck is totally off, because it's so much more than just a device to stream, right? So this is the software that we use to configure it. And this you can have as many profiles as you want. So I have my default profile for regular meetings that I'm doing. And I have one for PitchZone when we are 2 coaches. I have one for PitchZone when we are 3 coaches and 4 coaches and so on. So this is the example of 2 coaches. And so I assigned all of these different buttons. So before we start the show, and this is the intro, outro, and then I have these buttons here. This is my solo view. I already loaded up next week's guest. Tatiana Rodriguez will be joining us, and I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, one for Nathan, and so on. So this is how you configure this. And to me, the Stream Deck, the real magic is over here. When you go to the Stream Deck store, that offers you a lot of plugins. So you can control your lighting, for example. You can control your Discord. You can control pretty much anything that ties into the internet, anything that has an IP address, basically. There's a huge, huge icon gallery. I usually make my own. But yeah, to me, the Stream Deck is really, really where it's at, because this allows me to sit here, switch to different scenes, and make it look also effortlessly without having a producer doing all that work for us. We truly, truly are living in marvelous times that, just a couple of years ago, this wouldn't have been possible without spending thousands of dollars per episode to do. And today it's basically free with what we have on our computers. So how does it look behind the scenes? Well, I'll get to that again in just a moment, because Massimo has a great question here. The episodes with only the coaches are not 100% scripted, but I'm wondering if it's all in real time, thanks to the vast knowledge of the coaches, or if you have a small script to follow. We don't, Massimo, we don't. We are flying by the seats of our pants, just the way we like it, and the way we do not instruct our clients to do it.
Yeah.
But,
well, go ahead. We've been at this for so many years, Massimo, is that and Claudio and I kind of think similarly. The truth is, when it comes to this sort of a session, we literally just decide, how do you want to start it? And then we trust in the force that everything else will roll out from that, based on what we're saying, what we're doing, what we inspire each other with what we're saying. Well, of course, we do use the back channel for guest chat, so we can tell each other things that you don't hear. But we didn't use that at all today, because we kind of had a basic plan. We were going to start with the tech, then move over to the software, and talk about whatever comes up. So, but really, thank you for asking that question. And it's a fun situation to be in here, because I want to go back to the Stream Deck. One of the biggest things you can do with this Stream Deck is make it effortless and make your audience have a better experience. So if I'm going to share slides with an audience, I press a button on my Stream Deck and this happens. Oh, there you go. This happened. I'll go back. So I go from this when I say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, get ready. I'm going to share my slides. I don't go share, pick a file, blah, 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 all that. I press a button on my Stream Deck and I move my slides into the picture. I move me down off to the left. Now, if you think it requires a lot of software to do that, folks, it doesn't. Claudio and I are using professional grade broadcast software. I'm using OBS Studio. Claudio's using Ecamm Live. That is not for everyone. You can do what I just did by bringing your slides up, shifting down over to here in PowerPoint right now. To move your camera using Cameo down, you just use the morph feature and it just as fast or as slow as you want. And I just make my slides. Remember, Claudio taught us many years ago, this is a canvas. It's a 1920 by 1080p canvas. What do you want to do with it? So the next time you look at your PowerPoint slides, it's not a slide. It's actually a canvas. You can put your camera there, move it, do whatever you want. And that's one way you can actually impress your audience because they're looking at you on the slide. You still share slides, but you turn off your camera on the right side in the little postage stamp. And now people are looking at you on the slide and it was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And it makes you be part of the experience instead of over here in this little corner that people have to go over here and look up at you. Now you're on the slide itself. And there's other tools out there. Believe it or not, HMM.app is another one to look at. There's dozens of ways you can control your camera. We've gone to the high-end stuff, but there's many others that you can use without the complexity of what we're doing. Just want you to know that.
All right, very good. So that leaves me about 5 minutes to give you a tour of Ecamm, the software that I'm using. So I'm just going to share what I'm seeing on my screen. So you should see now my entire screen. And if you're looking here in the center, you're seeing this window here. This is what you're seeing right now on YouTube. This is what's being broadcast out there. And then I have all these little panels around and I just organize them in a way that I like it the best. But some people, you know, they move the sound effects over here, or you can move all of these panels around. So the way it works is we are dealing with different scenes. So I have one switches over to this scene here. That's why sometimes you hear us still talking, because while the countdown is happening, we usually have a little chat, and that sometimes bleeds over just because we are not that professional. And it just flipped over to the next scene automatically. So you see here pre-show, introduction, and both. The difference between those two, the introduction has a name tag on it. And then after 15 seconds, I don't need to pay attention to it, totally hands-free. My hands are here right now, and I think it's 15 seconds. We shall see in just 3, 2, 1, there we go. It's gone because it flipped over to the next scene. And then I have another scene where I'm solo. For today, I prepared one where we had the Stream Deck here. I closed it already. We have Nathan solo. We have my iPhone over here. And so I can set up all of these different, and here again, the Logitech camera, right? And the comments that I'm pulling in. This one I didn't change at all for today's. But these are the different scenes that we are using when we are going live. And then I have control over my sound levels, very, very detailed. I can change the interview sound and my sound separately. And then for each of the speakers over here, I can also modify the sound a little bit. So And in this window here, we see all of the guests that are currently in the green room. Right now it's Nathan and me, but I can have up to 10 people in this session here. And then for each of the cameras, I can modify things a little bit. In this case here, I thought I controlled Nathan's green screen today, but I do not, which is great. But I can change anything here. I can change Nathan's brightness. I can change any aspect to make sure that every guest is looking good, right? So I can apply this green screen to Nathan, maybe not transparent.
There. Now I'm green, so now you should be able to work. I took off my background. Should work. No?
Yes, it did, but for some reason, no. There we go. Okay, so now I'm controlling Nathan's green screen from my side, right? So a lot of things that I can do to make our guests look good during the what happened now?
Oh, that's me.
Okay. No sweat, no sweat. All right, so that's basically it. And then when the comments are coming in, this is the panel down here where we see all the comments coming in. Right now we're streaming to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So I see them here, and then I can bring them up on the screen simply by clicking on them. I'd like to see a full show about Cameo in PowerPoint. And yes, we can certainly do that, although it won't take 45 minutes. Cameo is such an easy thing once you get it. So, yeah.
Maybe what we do, though, is do another show on just the software control.
Just the software, yeah. Because this is just, a taste of what's going on, because you as a viewer out on YouTube or Facebook, you're seeing what you're seeing right now. And many times when I'm in one-on-one meetings, people are actually asking me and say, hey, I watched this episode of PitchZone, and how exactly do you do this? And this is what prompted us today to say, hey, why not, lift the curtain and give everybody a quick glimpse into what we have over here. And we have another minute or two on the clock here, Nathan. Any final thoughts that you have for our audience that wants to look better on screen?
I do. My favorite tip that most people know up here, but they don't use in life. And that is, if you want to immediately up your game online or when you're recording videos, you must make eye contact with your audience, the way we have been making eye contact with you today. That's why we have our cameras in the middle or just off to the side, so that I can look into the camera and connect with you, whether it's you just one-on-one or you one on 1,000 people. You get to make eye contact with every single person watching, because they are looking at the screen where you are on. And that doesn't cost anything, folks. You don't have to change webcams. You don't have to pay any money. You just need to look into the camera when you are speaking. If you're not speaking, look anywhere you want. If you have to get a cup of coffee, look over. You don't have to stare down your audience, but be natural. But when you are speaking, look into the darn camera. That's all.
And this, of course, is a tip that is gold. And that's not just because it comes from you, Mr. Gold. It is the number one tip to make a connection with your audience. And thank you, Anthony, for staying with us here. And thanks everybody who joined us here on the live and everybody who's watching the replay. Nathan, I had a lot of fun. I know you did as well, absolutely. And I think, we might do another one of these very, very soon. Next week, we'll have Tatiana Rodriguez joining us. She is a professor for communication skills at the Rutgers University or something like that. So that will be very, very cool. We will be talking about audience engagement. So
Excellent.
Tune in again
All right.
next Thursday, 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, wherever you are in the world, have a great one. See you. Bye.